Hey guys, in this video we're going to be taking a look at probably the most underappreciated pistol of all time. That is the FN model of 1922. This is probably the most successful pistol that not too many people know about. Now before we talk about the model of 1922, we need to go back into FN pistol history a little bit, starting with the model of 1900 right here. So this pistol pretty much, as a lot of you already know, revolutionized the concealed carry, 32 ACP market. This is a really big hit at the time. Of course, kind of looking at this now, this is kind of a antiquated design, sort of how the spring goes over the barrel, how the ejection port's really far back. It's kind of a funky gun, but of course, this was a huge hit, revolutionized concealed carry. Now later on, FN comes out with the FN 1903, which is a much larger pistol that's not meant for concealed carry. It's meant to get some military contracts. The FN 1903 is pretty much just a scaled up Colt 1903. And then later on, so FN now is kind of looking to update this now aging FN 1900 pistol. And they come up with this guy here, the FN 1910. Now the FN 1910 is really a great little pocket pistol. It's light, handy, nice low bore axis, very easy pocket carry. And comparing this to the 1900, really the 1910 looks like what a modern pistol should look like. It's smaller, lighter, handier than the 1900. So really the 1910 really kind of makes the 1900 obsolete. They still made the 1900 for a while though after the 1910. And so this is basically where we're at, where World War I kicks off. Now, of course, the 1910 had a role to play in how World War I kicks off. Everybody knows about that already. But we're going to talk about slightly after World War I, which is when a new kingdom it was made in the ashes of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And that is the kingdom of the Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, which from now on I'm just going to refer as the kingdom, because that's just too much to say. So after World War I, the kingdom is basically looking for arms. They're looking for, after the war and everything, their arms are pretty much just depleted. They need kind of new everything. So they go to FN and they're looking at the pistols. So the kingdom liked the FN 1903, but it was just too expensive. They liked the price of the FN 1910. This gun was affordable to them. But of course, this gun is just too small. This is again, a little kind of pocket pistol sized gun. They like the price of this, but they want kind of the performance of a larger pistol. The kingdom doesn't have money to invest into, FN to R&D and make a new handgun design. So FN kind of thinks about it, and they figure out a way of using as much of the same machinery and everything, tooling to save cost, of just kind of making a 1910 that's bigger. Now the 1910 has this little bushing that fits into the end of the slide here. Otherwise, the end of the slide is just sort of open. So the engineers basically decided that they could fit a longer barrel in here if they kind of redesigned this bushing to act sort of as a nose cap or like a slide extension to cover that barrel up. And that way they could fit a longer barrel in this same kind of 1910 design. And from there, they can basically extend the grip. They actually made early designs where it still had this little short 1910 grip, but with the longer barrel. The kingdom actually decided that they wanted a longer grip, so they went essentially to this right here, the FN 1922. So I'll show you this up close in a little bit, but they just basically have this little nose cap that fits onto it, and they just very easily kind of machined this grip to be a little bit longer. In 32 ACP, this holds 2 more rounds, so 9 rounds versus 7 of 32 ACP in the 1910. And this pleased the kingdom. So this became the FN model of 1922. Now the kingdom ordered the 1922s in 380 ACP, but just like with the 1910, FN can make these 1922s in 380 if the customer wants one. So this was really a godsend for FN at the time. It's kind of struggling after the war, like kind of a lot of gun companies were right after World War I. The kingdom also ended up ordering Mausers from FN. That's kind of a different story for another time. But this pistol was very popular. Quite a few countries ordered these FN 1922s. So there's quite an amount of production of these 1922s going on at FN when World War II kicks off. So the German invasion and occupation of Belgium happens. This is May 1940. Germans take over the FN factory. I mean, the factory is up and running, making all sorts of guns. The Germans, of course, just wanted to keep running, keep pumping out firearms. So that's pretty much what just kept happening at FN at the time. FN 1922s kept being made and everything. It wasn't until September when an official, like inspectors, manufacturers station for Waffenamt was set up at the FN factory. So pistols made under German occupation from kind of like May to September, you don't really see any Waffenamts on them. It's the same thing like with other FN guns that were made at the time. A lot of them have just all Belgian markings and everything. They look exactly like Belgian guns, but they're German occupation guns. And then in September, you start seeing Waffenamt codes being put on pistols. That is the Waffenamt WAA 613. That starts on these FN 1922s around serial number 20,000 to 25,000. Having to consult my notes here because I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you here pretty soon. So now in November to December of 40, kind of all the existing parts that were made before the German invasion have all been used up. So new production parts are being made and being introduced around this time. Now in April of 1941, the Waffenamt code was changed to WAA 103. So this is, there's still a high level of fit and finish on these earlier German occupation pistols. This is the serial number about 25,000 to 57,000. In November / December of 1941, the new code is introduced, WAA 140, and you start to see kind of a drop off in the fit and finish of these FN pistols around this time. Now in February of 1942, commercial production is introduced at the FN factory, and that's what we have here. This is a commercial FN 1922 pistol, which really just uses the eagle end proofs. These won't have any of the Waffenamt markings on it because this wasn't accepted in the German military. These were kind of meant for commercial sale, which commercial sale in World War II Nazi Germany was a little different than what we might be thinking commercial sales is. Of course, this kind of pistol is offered up for sale to the party, party leaders, military members, police, all that sort of thing are able to buy these commercial pistols, which commercial guns tend to go for a little bit less than like military marked guns. But these are still pretty cool. These are actually pretty uncommon. I don't know an exact number. I've heard people say like 5% or whatever of total FN 1922 production is commercial. But this is an example of it. I'll show you some close-ups in a little bit. So going back to this, so after the commercial was introduced here, so May of 1944, a letter suffix serial system was introduced, which instead of just having numbers 1 to 9999 or whatever, it went 1A to 99,999A, and it swapped over to 1B. So this sort of serial letter suffix system is introduced in 43. Now in December of 1943, a new serial number system is introduced on these pistols, where the only place that the full serial number is put on these pistols is on the slide. Everywhere else just has the last 3 digits of the serial number and the letter suffix. So that happens in December of 43. And this January of 44, it swapped and it's changed to a 4-digit system. So now you see full serial number on the slide and then the last 4 serial numbers and then the letter suffix. So you'll see that little brief 3-digit serial number on some pistols there at the tail end of 1943. Now August of 1944 is when the occupation at the FN factory ends. That was around pistol 42,000C. So 42,000C is sort of the end last of the production. You shouldn't see a German marked FN 1922 with a serial number higher than that, because of course faking a pistol and making it German is a good way to flip some money with just a little die stamp. So that's one way to check and make sure that your FN 1922 is legit. So total production under the Germans is about 440,000 to 453,000 pistols. So like 450,000 pistols. That's quite a lot. I mean, they really cranked these things out there. It seems like most of them went to the Air Force, which is kind of interesting because it's kind of a big pistol, kind of to be riding in a holster like that. But they made specialty little drop holsters for these for the Air Force. Now let's get in and do some close-ups. So now just to get an idea of the size of the 1922, I'll compare it here with a 1911 A1. You can see that the 1922 is definitely much smaller than just kind of like a full-size pistol like a 1911. You know, quite a bit smaller, definitely quite a bit lighter. Now comparing the 1922 to something like this Walther PP here, this is the full-size PP. The 1922 is still quite a bit bigger than the Walther PP, especially if you compare the 1922 to the PPK. I mean, for shooting, you know, the same caliber, this 32 ACP, you know, size-wise, it's just not very efficient compared to something smaller and handier like a Walther or something like that. This gun just seems kind of big for its 32 ACP chambering that the Germans wanted their pistols chambered in. So it's kind of weird. It's like it wants to be a full-size military handgun, but it's not powerful enough for that. But it's too big to be a nice little compact 32 ACP, you know, pocket pistol or you know, some sort of concealed carry type pistol. It's too big for that, so it's just kind of this weird in-between gun. So now comparing it directly to the 1910, I'll take the magazines out of these. This is definitely a short little magazine here on the 1910. Now comparing the magazines here, the 1922 magazine is quite a bit longer than the 1910. You do get the 2 extra rounds though. Now the grip safety on the 1922, I mean, you know, of course it's exactly as it is on the 1910, but with this 1910, I don't really have to think about it. My hand just kind of, when I grip the pistol, it depresses the grip safety just fine. But on the 1922, when I grip it, like right now, I'm gripping the pistol. I have a good grip on it, and nothing's happening because I can tell that I'm not fully depressing this grip. Like it's really kind of has to be this like conscious effort of depressing the grip safety so that I can then fire the pistol. So it's one of these guns where you really have to be self-conscious about squeezing the grip safety, which is not really something that you'd want to have to think about if you needed to fire one of these and say like self-defense. So it's one of those maybe little issues with the grip angle that you don't really think about when you're enlarging it from a little pocket pistol where it's not really an issue. I mean, this honestly to me doesn't make sense. When I heard of this, I was just like, why would it? I mean, it's the same grip angle. Why is it easier on the 1910? But it really is for some reason. It's kind of weird. Now the Germans used mostly wood grips. They did use some of like the earlier horn grips and the plastic grips on the earlier 1922. So it's possible that you'll find a German one, you know, with these black grips on it. But to me, if you just see one with these wooden grips, it's just kind of a giveaway that it is most likely a German occupation 1922. If you see one with the black plastic grips, odds are it's like a pre-war, post-war 1922. But it's actually something I don't mind that much. These feel a little bit slick, where there's kind of a nice like checkering cut in to these wooden grips. They add a little bit of thickness to the gun, which is honestly really not that bad when sort of gripping it. Fills out your hand a little bit more, gives you a little bit better grip, a little bit better purchase with the gun. So it's not really a negative to me to have these wooden grips. And plus, I just like the way that wood grips look on these old pistols. Now to disassemble the 1922, you're going to start out by taking off this little nose cone, and to do that, you have to press this little serrated detent that's right up here. You have to sort of catch this with your nail, push it forward, and then rotate this nose cap. And it's sort of like on there by a interrupted sort of thread or lug, and that comes off. And of course you have this, concentric recoil spring around the barrel. Now the neat thing is here with the slide off, you can compare this to the 1910, and this is the same exact slides essentially. The 1910 just has this little bushing that you press in and rotate. Of course, a concentric spring as well. And I mean, these are almost identical. Of course, now with the 1910, you just have the front sight kind of milled into the top of the slide here at the end of the slide. Can't do that with the 1922. So the front sight is milled in to the front of the nose cap. Now this nose cap, this is not like stamped cheap metal or whatever. This is a legit forged steel part. This is not a cheap part at all. But the front sight, of course, is pushed forward. It has to be on this little nose cap. So here you can see the extended barrel in the 1922 versus the 1910. It's not like a ton of extra length, but it really does make a difference sometimes, just that little extra bit. Now to disassemble it the rest of the way, really just putting the safety and that second notch, and then just rotating the barrel. Rotating the barrel gets the little locking lugs out of the frame and out of the gun. So now on a Waffenamt or a German military 1922, the barrel should be in the white and it should be numbered to match the frame and the slide. You'll have here next to the serial number a little Eagle N, and then on the other side of the barrel you'll have a little Waffenamt markings. So this is how a German military gun should look. Now on the commercial 1922, the barrel is blued, because this is, of course, the German military wanted theirs in the white, but sort of the commercial standard practice is to blue the barrels. So on this commercial German 1922, the barrel is blued. Again, it is also numbered to match the frame and the slide, and there is still that Eagle N proof marking on the barrel, but on the other side there are no Waffenamts, because this was not Waffenamt, this is not a military gun. So you just have the wartime Eagle over N marking, and that's pretty much it. So I've highlighted the markings on the slide of this military gun just to kind of make it easier to see it, but of course they have just all the Fabrique Nationale markings. There are actual 3 Waffenamt Eagles on this. So you have one here, another one on the slide, and then one down on the frame. Those are all WAA 140 markings. And then right here and below it, these are 2 sort of acceptance or proof Eagles. These are just Eagle with the swastika. There's no Eagle N on this pistol. Now here on the right side of the pistol, we have serial numbers. We have a serial number on the nose cap because that's a separate piece from the slide. We have one on the barrel that's visible there, and then we have one on the frame. Now there is a 4th serial number that is inside underneath the slide. The only way to see it is to actually take the gun apart, or if you lock the slide back, if it'll focus, you should be able to see the 1-4 underneath there. Now it has the whole serial number, but you just can't see it, so it's the 1-4 for the first 2 digits of the serial number. The whole thing will be under there. Like I said, you'll want to actually take the pistol apart in order to see that. But before taking this pistol apart, I highly recommend watching a video or something on how to disassemble this pistol, because this gun is not the easiest pistol in the world to disassemble. It's not as easy as you would think a typical kind of Browning design would be. So watch a video on it and disassemble it, or just ask the current owner to maybe disassemble it so that you can see it. So here's the commercial 1922, standard, FN markings. No Waffenamts on this gun, again, because it's a commercial gun. But you do have a little Eagle with swastika here, and then down on the frame right there. Really not that many markings on this gun at all. If we look at the right side of it like we did the other one, you have the same markings
on the side here. This just, of course, this gun isn't highlighted like the other one is. Highlighting the lettering on these pistols really does kind of make it much easier to see, but you know, it's not how it would have been originally. This is kind of how the gun would have looked originally. It's just kind of personal preference, I guess, as a collector or shower or whatever. If you want all the lettering to stand out and be easy to read, or if you want the pistols to look exactly like they did. Another thing to point out about these 1922s is that you want to just kind of look closely on your pistol, you know, to kind of see all the markings that are on it, even in places you wouldn't think that there would be any markings, like here on the front strap of this pistol here. So this pistol, of course, was made during the war, but stayed in German service with the border guards here. So this is kind of just a neat little piece of history that goes along with these pistols, where you know, necessarily the pistol history doesn't stop just with the end of the war, but a lot of these pistols saw a lot of post-war usage. I think that kind of stuff is really cool. It just adds to the you know, to the history and everything of these guns. I don't really know how this pistol made it back to the United States. You know, there's no import markings or anything on this pistol, but somehow this gun got away from a West German border guard and ended up back here in the United States.
Now, the reason I think the 1922 is sort of underrated or underappreciated is the fact that these are just as cheap as they are. I mean, you can get a German Waffenamt, you know, 1922 German production for a lot less than you would say like a Walther PP or PPK. I mean, especially when you start pricing these PPs or PPKs, these 1922s are much more affordable for, you know, a wartime gun with lots of cool history. I'm not exactly sure why. I think maybe it has something to do with the size, because this gun is a little too big to be a cool little pocket pistol. It's just a little too bulky. It might have something to do with the shootability of this gun. I shot this gun before. I'll put some high speed here. For some reason, I felt like the 1922 was a lot snappier than it should have been. Now, the 1922 was made all the way up until 1983, when production ended at FN, which is crazy. That's 60 years this gun was made at the FN factory, which to me kind of speaks volumes about the quality of this pistol, the qualities of it, that it's just kind of one of those guns, kind of maybe on paper, fits kind of a lot of needs or a lot of niches. You know, super low bore axis, 380 ACP, especially up to the 80s, wasn't a terrible cartridge to carry around. It's just hard to kind of hate this gun. There's not really a lot wrong with it. Striker fired, you don't have to worry about a hammer or anything like that. So it's just a good pistol that nobody really talks about, nobody really wants. Nobody carries these. And really, it's just kind of like not a whole lot of people really care about the model of the 1922s, you know? Of course, the 1910s were made for a long time as well. So maybe the 1910 just kind of overshadowed the 1922. I know a lot of people kind of refer to the 1922 as the 1910/22. So maybe this pistol just kind of lived in the shadow of its little brother. So let me know what you think about this pistol presentation. It's your guys' feedback that lets me know if I need to change anything. So let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks to my Patreon members as always, and I'll see you next time.